Welcome back to Sip Happens. Today we're jumping into wine labels. So wine labels can be super confusing and wine snobbery is a thing. People who don't have the knowledge can shy away from choosing the right bottle of wine just because of the writing on the bottle. People feel that they're judged or they're feared of looking silly when ordering a wine at a table or in the supermarket or taking a nice bottle of wine for dinner. So I'm here to help you decipher this label. So the big secret is you got to know the difference between Old World and New World. Old World is traditionally talks about regions and appellations, whereas New World will talk about a specific grape. So that's trick number one. You need to determine whether this is an Old World wine or a New World wine. When we're talking Old World, we're talking France, Germany, Italy, Spain. We're talking New World, we're talking Kenya, South Africa, Argentina, Chile, USA. Old World will talk about things like GI, they'll talk about DOC, they'll talk about IGT, so that can be quite difficult and throw people off. Whereas New World, we're talking about the country and the grape. So it's really easy to see that this is a Cabernet Sauvignon from South Africa. Whereas this one, you're thinking Pommard, you're thinking Francois Martineau, your brain all of a sudden is spiraling out of control. Labels will also refer to things like barrel fermentation or aged in oak for a certain amount of months, which can be confusing to the customer. You need to be able to look for those, be comfortable with them, and then know which wine you want to take. Old World wines will not say what the grape is, so it's hard to know what's inside the bottle. They will refer to probably the chateau, the region, the appellation, and the style the winemaker used, but they will not identify the actual grape. Whereas New World is super easy. You know you're getting a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, you know you're getting a South African Pinotage. So it's easier for wine novices to tend to go to New World, but trust me, the beauty is in the Old World. The most important information is around the wine label, where it's from and the region, rather than what's inside. So there's certain things that are required on a bottle and there's certain things that are not. Where it's from, the country, required. The alcohol percentage, required. The actual grape, not required. The vintage, not required. If you're drinking wines with sommeliers and wine connoisseurs, you really need to know the appellation because that gives a sense of the place and it really gives you an indication of the quality of what the wine is in the bottle. The most famous appellation is Champagne. It is called Champagne because it comes from the Champagne region in France. In there, you've got Grand Cru, you've got different levels, vintage, non-vintage, but already you know an appellation and you can confidently say the Champagne appellation and you know it stands for a benchmark of quality. If we look at this beautiful bottle, it says Pommard. Now that is the appellation in Burgundy. You might not necessarily know the grape, but if you know Burgundy, you know it's famous for Pinot Noir. And that's what's going to be in this bottle. So for the novices, if you want to play it safe, go with New World. Something like this. It says it is a Cabernet Sauvignon from South Africa. So you know right away, you don't have to guess that there's Cabernet Sauvignon in this bottle. It doesn't necessarily mean it's better or not as good as, say, the Pommard. But if you're playing it safe, go with what you can read and what you trust. Now, here's the trick. Even in New World wines, you can get blends. You can get stuff like GSM. You're like, what is GSM? Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. You get different blends. So even New World can be tricky. The focus is you need to know your appellations, your regions, your grape varieties, and whether it's Old World or New World, and that will already help you choose the perfect bottle. Alcohol percentage is always required. You usually find that percentage on the back of the bottle, and so you know what you're going into. Usually, wines are typically not more than 15%. Vintage, as we talked about last time, is the 4-digit number that you see on a bottle. So if you see that this is a 2017 Cabernet Sauvignon, you know that that was the year the grapes were harvested at the vineyard. So you're basically drinking 2017 grapes from South Africa. Now, your choice to drink now or age is entirely up to you. Red wines, you can typically age for 5, 10, 15 years, depending on your storage conditions. Wine does not like heat. It does not like vibration. It does not like sunlight. It does not like inconsistent temperature. So if you don't even have a fancy wine fridge and you just want to store wine, look at a cupboard, stick it under your bed, keep it away from light and heat, and try it in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. You never know what it's going to taste like. If a certain wine says estate bottle, that means the grapes were actually grown on that estate, and the whole process of the winemaking is done at the estate, from harvesting, bottling, aging, and sending it out to you. The rest of the stuff is just marketing. Beautiful labels, catchy names. That's just to get the consumer to choose their wine. From a whole shelf of wine, they've got to stand out. So the marketing team really invests in trying to see what the consumer wants. And that goes to pretty labels, that goes to fancy names. And so really your wine knowledge there doesn't matter. You're just choosing with your eyes. So the French labeling system is probably the most confusing one in wine. If you can crack that one, you're already looking like a sommelier. The French GI, which is the geographical indication, is an area that produces wine with fewer restrictions. That's called vin de paix. You'll usually see that in small print on the bottom of the bottle. An area that's called an AOC has a lot more restrictions and is very specific. So that one can throw you off a little bit. AOC is considered really premium. So if you're stuck, always look for AOC. Things like Champagne, things like Burgundy, Pouilly-Fuissé, Chablis, you're always going to impress people. Now we go to the Spanish label systems. The trick is, if you say everything with an accent, you already sound like a professional. The Spanish GI is a wine that's made in an area with, again, few restrictions, also known as vin de la terra. Spanish GI wines are made in areas with much tighter restrictions, kind of like the French AOCs. And they are called, here we go, Domenciana di Origine, D-O. And then if you want to get really fancy and look for very, very premium, Domenciane di Origine Crucificada. Again, I don't speak Spanish, guys, but if I say it with an accent, people usually believe me and trust me. All right, and then I saved the best for last, the Italian one. It gets even more complicated. So an Italian GI, again, same principle for Spain and France, with a vineyard with few restrictions, is called IGT, much easier to pronounce, abbreviated. Here we go, Indicazione Geografica Tipica. That is a vineyard with fewer restrictions. And as we go to a vineyard with more strict restrictions, we go to DOC, which is Demonciana di Origine Controllata. So there you go. You've got more restrictions there. So you already know that that wine is going to be much more premium. Now, if you want to go even more premium, because Italians like to get more complicated, and you know you're getting the highest quality wine, we go to DOCG, Demonciana di Origine Controllata e Gratifica. So that is going to be the best of the best. Things like perfect Moscatos, Barbera, Barolo, you know you're going to get a DOCG. So guys, if you're looking for a great Italian wine, if you see IGT, you know that it's from a bigger vineyard with fewer restrictions. So still pretty good wine, table wine, everyday drinking wine. If you see DOC, you know that it's from a vineyard with more restrictions, so we're heading into premium territory. And if you see DOCG, you know that you're in the boss area now. You're getting Barolo, you're getting Sangiovese, you're getting Super Tuscans, you're in the premium leagues now. So you can choose the perfect bottle of Italian wine for you. So guys, I hope I haven't confused you, but if you don't see anything on the bottle, no IGT, no DOC, no DOCG, no AOC, no vin de paix, doesn't mean it's a cheap wine or a bad wine. Taste it, try it. Don't knock it until you try it yourself. And as you want to graduate your palate, go and look for these certain little quirks on the label that just make you go a little step higher until you start tasting really premium stuff. So I hope you've learned a little bit about how to decipher a label and how to choose the appropriate wine so that you don't look silly. And hey, pronounce it, throw in the accent, make it look good, and stay tuned because we're diving into the noble grapes next session so we can pick the perfect grapes for you. Cheers to Sip Happens.